go. So thanks to the Scott for starting this history. My presentation starts in the year 1920 in Czech Republic or Czechoslovakia in Central Europe when a new theater play was introduced called Rossum's Universal Robots. And this play was written by Karel Čapek, and he made up a word called labori, labors, coming from the Latin word labor, work. But he thought that this word is kind of artificial. He didn't like it, so he paid a visit to his brother, painter and kid storyteller Josef Čapek, who came up with a better word, robots, because that is coming from a Czech word robota, and that means hard work, tedious work, very tiring work, so more like a hard task. And he was a storyteller, and my story starts in a country called Blackness, because this is the most landscape that we found in enterprises when we started to talk about automation, about process mining. And into that country, a wizard came, a wizard of RPA, bringing the light of very easy automation without the integrations, nasty integrations, without the, with a great ROI and everything. And all the enterprises started like you start with Sid Meier's Civilization 2. So you start with a small sandbox, small map, and you mine your own coal, and you cut the wood and build some buildings and so on. And at a certain point in time, you find out that your resources are exhausted. And you cannot move further without revealing further parts of the map, without communicating with the citizens around you, without trading stuff. And that is the only possibility. But RPA was considered a silver bullet for everything, right? So unfortunately, as EY study from 2018 shows, 30 to 50% of RPA implementation failed. And what is the reason for that? Well, there are many reasons, but the low-hanging fruits are gone. And the enterprises are fighting where to choose the next process. And process mining really looks at that from many perspectives, from the frequency, the pain of performance, or finance. But behind those processes are people, right? They are doing different activities. You have many different peoples doing stuff. And if you choose the right process, choose the next process, you still do not have the right activity for RPA, the right RPA candidate. Wouldn't it be nice if you could see what those people are doing, if you could reveal the map, basically drill down into your process and just go deeper and deeper and deeper into layers, and have all the information about what the people are doing, and basically be able to pick the right person according to which the robot might be created, and not even just pick the right person, but go even further and see what exactly is going on the fingertips of these people. And we are talking about recording what these people are doing. They're working with information systems. They're working with different applications in the time. And what we want to actually see is what goes inside of their head, inside of their fingers. And I can tell you it's sometimes a mess. I know it from myself. But anyway, we need that information, and we need that in the context of the business process. When we look at the other side of the problem, so that was choosing the RPA candidates, we are talking about monitoring the whole thing. And what currently many RPA vendors show, and we have seen this in some of the presentation, is monitoring the robots, right? Which failed, what are the exceptions, how they perform. But to put it in a context of a whole process, to really see how the workforce, the human workforce, works with the digital workforce, this is actually what is the most important, because at the end of the day, what is the basic question that the stakeholders and the process owners ask? Well, it is the question from Pulp Fiction. Are we happy, Vincent? Are we happy? That's the main question. So to see it in a dashboard, to see it end-to-end in the process, based on data, not based on some assumptions or guesstimations, is the key. And the only possibility to do that is to, and I thank to Jim for that presentation, is to just put all the technologies together, to have the synergy between the technologies, like we see between RPA and process mining, because otherwise you end up like this with the errors. And as machine learning, data mining, all these technologies just use the data that were already available. They found a new way of using the data. We in Minit believe that the data that we have right now, that we are basically using for process mining perspective, there's more value in that. And let me show it to you. All right. So in this demo scenario, we will be looking at the process of invoice approval. I will talk about this a little bit more later. Let's start with level 0. How was it done before? What is the really basic level? It's talking with the people, kind of using the intuition and using the experience of people to pick the right RPA candidates, then creating the robots, and so on and so forth. Basically without using any technology, right? What was introduced several years ago was the process mining approach to picking the right process and picking the right RPA candidates. So if we open up the invoice approval process, basically if I look at the process, it's very, very simple. It starts with some scanning of an invoice. It is being automatically recognized, then a workflow starts, and there are some steps which are already automated, and there are some steps, I'm sorry, which are manual, of course. So for example, we can look here. If purchase order number was recognized on that invoice, it is checked. If not, it goes to manual entering of the order number. This happens in almost 50% of the process instances that you see there. And it goes back to comparing the sum. So there is some manual task. Someone has to do some manual task to search for the purchase order and enter the purchase order number in there. Right? We can look at it from the frequential point of view. We can easily switch to just performance so that we can see and on the average that we see the automated tasks, which are very fast. And this particular task is adding approximately 6 hours on the average to the process duration, right? We have some other potential bottlenecks right here, demand for information, invoice accounting, and so on, taking even longer. But let's move from the start here. We can animate the process, and so on and so forth. But I will not continue with this analysis, because this is what process mining already does and what you've seen many times in the demos. I've shown it 2 years ago. This is a standard thing, right? So, but this analysis allows us to pick the right process, the process that is a pain for the enterprise. Now, this also allows us to look at the individual activities, to look at the activity details, and see, for example, which people are performing this. It's very interactive, so you can drill down to a certain level, but we are still on the high level, right? So we pick up this activity as a potential RPA candidate. Now, how do we know that this is really good for RPA? Well, imagine the level 3. And we go here. And we see a similar process. Well, actually, it is the same process. But we see that the manual entering of the order number, the activity suddenly disappeared. And there is a very similar activity instead of that with some UID. Well, here on the bottom, you can see that we are still on the high level, on the level of recording session. So we are combining the data from recording the user experience, the user interfaces of the individuals with business processes and the data you get from the business systems into forming a hierarchical event log and hierarchical process model. What you can do here is immediately drill down into the process. So you can easily expand that. You can look at what the people are doing there. And you can see that they're working with some SAP application. They're working with Salamander. That's a small application for switching applications. They did something with Skype. They did something in Chrome, right? And you can go even further. You can release and reveal the further layers. There's some window in there, right? We can go even further. There's some search for the purchase order, search result, item details, and so on. We can even go to expanding the whole thing and looking at a very messy process, but looking at the whole recording there, right? Now, we want to, of course, focus on certain things. So we guess that doing Skype at that point in time is just something that the person was doing like a personal thing, right? Switching applications is not of interest. So what we can do is just filter that particular process. And we can filter that by attributes. Let's go to the application level. And we select, we are interested in SAP and Chrome. Apply that. This will cut out the part of the process because we are not right now interested in the rest. This will cut out the process. Again, you can drill down deeper and deeper, and you can look at the whole analysis of this part of the process. From all the different points. If we switch to something called rework, and we select here the net loop gain, and let's say a loop outflow, this is a functionality that, and the percentage, that allows us, this is a functionality in Minit that allows you to analyze loops, either self loops or loops going through several activities. And it will also show you visualized which activities are part of this loop, where the loop begins, and so on. And here we can see that it's a very simple user interaction. So we are typing some CMR number according to which we are going to search this particular purchase order. Some of the people are typing the amount with VAT, some of them just skipping the step, then clicking search. If the search returns some result, they click the result, they copy the value from there, go to the Chrome, paste the value, save it there, and the process goes further, right? But the problem is that for those which skip the step, adding the amount number, most of the processes go back because for some reason they, for example, search for the order, but they found many results, or they didn't find the correct result, so they need to repeat the search, and so on and so forth. So they are repeating the loops. Now, for us, it is important that the straight path is the one that is important and according to which the robot might be made. In this data set, we have just one variation of this recording. If you have many different variants, there is a support for variant analysis. So you have the variant DNA, and you can click on the specific variant and look at it from performance and finance point of view. So if different people are doing the same thing in a different way, you can easily see which of the variant is more performant or less or more cost efficient, and choose the right variation of the process for creating the robot. And at this phase, this is basically something that you can potentially generate a robot skeleton out of it. Now, at this phase, what happens is that the RPA implementation happens. So, and we basically do not care if this is done by recording the user or by creating the scripts or programming the whole thing. It's not a problem. Then the robots are executed, and what we want to do next is monitoring them, right? And we've seen the monitoring of the robots, so we can look at the robots as individual entities that are working, that are doing their tasks. We can see the failures, we can see the exceptions of the robots, we can see some statistics. But what we would like to see is put all those data from the robots together, and even more, insert it into the processes, right? The end-to-end process. So we can have a look at the similar or same process, and we see the same thing. But right now, we're seeing already the robot being executed. So if we just expand it all, it's more convenient, it's easier. So we just see that the search is being done, and it's being performed. I did not show it in the beginning, but the original process was, the mean duration of the process was somewhere around 2 days, 8 hours. Right? If you look at the statistics of this process, we find out that it is the same thing. So we did not save much time, but we can use process mining to find the possible problems here. So for example, we can switch to performance view and look at the robot doing activities, and it's doing it pretty fast, except of the search button and except of the save button. And this might be caused by, for example, the bots doing a lot of pressure or performance pressure on the systems, right? The systems might get slow, and so you have the view that you get probably from the dashboards that you have in the RPA monitoring that is provided by the vendors. And you can solve this kind of problem, but here you can really dig down into the process map of the robot doing his job and see the individual actions which are problems. So what we did here, we corrected the problem. We do some either robot definition, redefinition, or we tweak the performance of the systems, right? And we do it once again, have the robots running with the systems properly set. And what this kind of view might show us is a different thing as well, because we are now looking at the end-to-end process. So if we look at the robot itself in this performance view, right now we see that it is already performing well, right? So it's in seconds, everything is going well. But still, if we look at the statistics, probably see that it's 2 days, 8 hours. So we did not save any time. What might be the problem? And this is something we call a bottleneck shift. And it was already mentioned several times. It is about the workforce, the human workforce working with the digital workforce. The digital workforce is error-free, let's say, it's very fast, but it's producing more load on the humans, right? So, what we can do here is very simply go to process comparison and just compare it to the original one. And that was this here. And you can compare to a bpmN diagram as well if you have a blueprint of the process. That's for the process mining. And here exactly you can see what the problem is. So the orange activities are the same for both processes. The blue ones happen only in one process, the one with the bots, that are the bot activities. We should see a green one, which is the one that was the old activity, the manual entering of the order task performed by the humans. So we see a negative number here. That is, we should have saved some time here. There is basically no time here. But if we look here at the approving level, we are gaining 2 hours for all the different activities, so on average. That means that the bots are producing a lot more work for the approvers who were at 100% capacity at that time, and right now they are not able to perform well. Okay, now we are currently in an analytical tool, right? So a lot of different visualizations, maybe nice, maybe not, but like I said before, the question at the end of the day is, are we happy? And what you can do with here is go to Minit dashboards, and Minit dashboards is a new tool that we are introducing right now, basically this week, and that allows you, that combines the BI functionality with the process insights, including the hierarchies that are available, It's fully interactive, and of course, you have seen it with the RPA vendors, with the process mining vendors, some of them. But the possibility to really show and to have this drill down functionality on any device at any time, fully interactive, so really filtering even the process map according to what you click on that, is giving the process owner and the business stakeholders the full view of the end-to-end process, because they are really not interested in just seeing the robots working well, but the whole process working well. Thank you very much. Any questions? Yep.
Maybe you
Thanks.
mentioned, but I missed it.
Sure.
Where did you get the original data? Because you had all this keystroke data down to all the application.
Yeah.
So that's already pre-correlated data for that particular process. Because if you're recording with an agent what a person is doing on his computer, he's going to crisscross around
Yep.
25 different processes. So you have to re-correlate their activities. Where did that data come from?
Yeah, so it is from real recording of the UI interaction. Actually, the magic behind is in the correlation of the processes. So basically, choosing the right part of that recording for that particular process. You have two possibilities. Either you tell the people to just do what they should do at that part of time, or you just recorded the whole thing and then use process mining basically to simplify it. But the magic is really into picking that part of the process, and as you have seen, I must admit, of course, it is a bit simple use case, so the recordings might get even more complicated. But actually, it's just picking out that part of the process. And this is just the first phase of that. So we are working on the further steps leading to using the algorithms that were already mentioned here for picking out the patterns out of it and so on. Yeah. Thanks.
Was there some kind of threshold, though? I mean, it seemed like what you had the robot to do was a fairly deterministic sequence. It was
Yes.
straight through, it was flat. Not a lot
Yeah,
of
it was a
variation,
simple.
right? The rest of the stuff on the process map was representative of what other users might be doing, right?
Yeah.
So that distinction between this sort of deterministic simple path versus everything else, what informed that? I mean, is that really just I'll see it when I see it kind of determination, or did you have some calculations that informed you on these are the good candidates versus these are not good candidates?
So you mean because the simple one was the robot itself. So
How did you isolate that to say this is what the robot should do?
yeah, okay, you mean that. Well, this is that was a simple example. So basically, the route was like this.
Did you decide in
But
advance, or did you use the mining to inform you on that judgment?
yeah, it was used mining to really go and to cut out the what is not necessary. And of course, there is some analyst who is interpreting the results and must have a look at it. But yeah, but the process mining is basically giving you all the different variations, and you can simplify the map up to what you want to see. And then the further analysis, which I did not show in this example because it was pretty simple, allows you to just, for example, focus on a certain variant of the process. So again, simplify it and just look if that is compliant, for example, with the work that should be done, because the simple must not always mean correct, and also the fast variation might not always be correct. Yeah. Okay, if not any questions, Nathaniel, just one thing. We are here with Rasto, our CEO. I just want to say, if you would like to discuss with us or brainstorm or speak, we are leaving this evening. So do not hesitate. Do not wait for tomorrow. We unfortunately have to leave today. So come today. Thank you.